Hey, welcome to Mortgage Meet Marketing, Education, Activities, and Tips for Mortgage Loan Originators. And today I am joined by a good buddy of mine, Mr. Alan Fornis.
Hey, Keith, appreciate you, man, for having me on. Looking forward to
Well,
it.
just a quick intro here. Alan's known for making real estate real easy, which is kind of nice. It's often not the case. He's a high-touch realtor, strives to make the buying and selling process fun, easy, and stress-free. He's known for his unmatched commitment to clients, savvy negotiations, uncompromising integrity, and creative marketing strategies. Alan says current on-market trends. He stays current. This is me. I can't read as you can write. It knows the ins and outs of local markets, the players, all the variables involved in the transaction. He's tenacious and likes to win for his clients. And as they say, the housing market is hot. Time is money. Staying in touch is essential. He's a trusted real estate advisor for his clients. He understands there's a lot at stake financially and personally. His perspective combined with his extensive market knowledge and the responsibility he takes. This is a cool thing when you turn 50 and you can't really read things anymore. How the responsibility he takes on drives him to be an expert at the job and achieve a successful transaction for every seller, buyer, investor represents. Now, the reality is that he's not just an amazing realtor, but he's a good friend of mine. And we met in this business almost 10, 12 years ago
10
now,
years
I think.
ago. 10, 12, yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Something.
Because in 2006, when I bring that up, is when he actually launched his real estate career, came out swinging home runs, reaching the Rookie of the Year achievement the first year. Pretty awesome. He's been affiliated with NAREP, ARIA, and NABOR. Prior to launching his career, Alan worked years in the mortgage and property preservation field, where he gained exposure to invaluable industry knowledge that he leverages daily in the real estate negotiations, educating homebuyers and sellers, and effectively marketing listings, which sets him apart from most agents. Alan and his team of associates work hard to deliver premium customer service and quality results and keep ahead of the curve with forward thinking. Well, welcome, Alan Fornis, eXp Realty.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me.
I feel like ChatGPT had a little bit of something to do there with that.
Hey, you know what? I can't confirm or deny that.
I haven't read a bio in the last 6 months. It didn't have a little bit of AI, expertise. So before we start any of our Mortgage Meet podcasts, as you've hopefully seen a couple of them, I just realized my head is framed in perfectly in meat right now. I don't know if I like that angle. But so favorite steakhouse, brother?
Favorite steakhouse, I would have to probably say Mastro's. I frequent that place quite often, and definitely have to say probably that's going to be my number one. But I have a few. There's not just one.
I'll tell you, whenever I'm in your neck of the woods, it's one I always enjoy as well. What's your favorite cut of steak there?
You know what? I know a lot of people go for the filet, but I'm real big on the strip. I love New York strip, man. It has that marbling and, it just gets that great flavor. And I would have to, that's my go-to.
But I like it. I think that a lot of times people are thinking filet because I don't make a filet at home, right? So like, put the steak trying to get the filet, but I've been getting ribeyes at like every steakhouse now. And even if I make them at home, I just like it. I think the filet sometimes is, like you said, doesn't have enough fat and juice in it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you're getting that New York strip over at Masters, how are you getting that prepared and what sides go good?
You know what? I usually go medium. Sometimes medium rare. But I tend to go medium.
They'll throw you out at least if you say medium. I think above that, they might have to
yeah, exactly. But sides, I would have to do the probably lobster mac and cheese. That's pretty dope. And usually go with something like I don't know, cream with spinach, something. Try to be on that little bit of healthier vegetable side.
Yeah, cream with spinach is healthy. It looks like a vegetable.
It does. It has spinach in the name, so
yeah. Well, the thing with Masters I like here is that I believe they have a pretty sick seafood like appetizer thing I've had there before.
Yeah, the tower, that seafood tower is legit. Yeah, exactly. Heck yeah.
I'll tell you, the one thing I don't like is when we are filming this before lunch, because I'm getting real hungry, talking about these good places. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm super stoked to have you here. And the reason that you're here today is, we're having a conversation, started the podcast. The goal is to share marketing, education, activities, and tips for mortgage loan originators. You and I met when you were just coming out of being an originator. So
Right.
you obviously know both sides of the transaction and extremely successful on the real estate side. And I think I wanted to share your story a little bit with people, which was the whole, believing in you, right?
Absolutely.
The topic is
Yes.
about seizing your strategy, but
Yeah.
you took a leap of faith. You believed in you. So I really want to dive into that and share that. So maybe tell us how you got started and then how you moved to where you are nowadays.
Yeah. So as you shared, I started out in the mortgage field and kind of happened by chance. I don't think anybody wakes up one morning and says, "Hey, I want to be a lender." So it was probably my second year in college, and I was on spring break. Actually, no, sorry, summer break. And my dad's father at the time, and still does, own a mortgage company out in Downey, California.
Uh,
And so he asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to work for me for the summer?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, what do you know about real estate?" And I said, just that I live in a house. That's pretty much it at the time.
it's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start, exactly. And so then went down there and I, first and foremost saw the cars that were in the parking lot. I'm like, wow, okay, this is cool, some Beamers and Mercedes and a couple nice exotics. And so I got into the office and I was really, I would say for me being at the age I was, I think I was 21, 22. I was really taken back on just the hustle of it all. And that really
Uh,
intrigued me. And I do owe a lot of credit to that broker for bringing me on board for the reason of having me make calls. And that was the job he wanted me to do. He's like,
mhm.
look, you see all those boxes in that back room? I said, yeah. He goes, I want you to go through each and every file, call those past clients, and ask them if they want to refinance. And this was at the time, I want to say, geez, 99, 2000. People were having 13, 14% interest rates.
I started in like 2001, I think 2002, and they were like, dude, you can get me out of double digits? I'm like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I look like the hero, obviously, calling these people, offering, 6.5, 7.5%. And they were, loving it. So that's why I kind of laugh when today people are like, oh my gosh, the rates are so high. I'm like, not really. These are,
I'm,
these are pretty
I'm so
average.
glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that I hear that all the time. You're like, well, God, are these rates ever going to come down? No, probably not because they were never this low for almost since mortgages were invented, right?
Right.
So, hey, you know what? You sell what it is today. Great news. Rates go down. You can refinance. Rates don't go down. At least you bought the house, right? So,
Exactly. And that's why I like that quote everyone says, you date you marry the house, you date the rate, so that's very true. So, that's a whole
yeah.
different topic, but anyhow, that's,
So you go out here. This was, and now you said it was your father's friend or your father's father?
no, a family friend of my parents.
Oh,
And,
gotcha.
and so I did that for about I want to say almost a year and, part-time gig. And then I started realizing these guys are making some pretty nice coin. So I asked him, I
Yeah.
said, hey, what do I have to do to get my license to make the kind of money that you guys are making? He goes, well, it's take your principals and, the whole shebang. And so
Yeah.
I did, and I did fairly well. I did fairly well until, the infamous 07, 08. And
Hey, remember when going online and seeing if your company was on employment meter? You're like, oh, I guess I got a job another day. That's cool.
yeah, yeah,
We'll drive to the
yeah.
office.
Exactly. So, I mean, it was a good run. It was a really good run. And then I had to pivot, obviously, like I'm sure like a lot of people. I got involved with the REO side of the business. And I started working with a buddy of mine who had an REO account with like Wells Fargo, WAMU, like Wahoo, Washington Mutual, BFA. So I got the chance to see that side of the business. So it really helped develop me to not only have that mortgage background, but also to see the REO side of things. I did that for about 3.5 years, and then slowly that dwindled. And then I got my license reinstated, and then become a real estate agent. I think in 2011, 2012.
And so at that point, where were you selling properties? Where did you get your start in real estate?
Yeah, starting real estate happened out in Corona, Eastvale.
Okay.
My parents who still live there and reside there. I started out with Keller Williams out in the Corona area. And it was so funny because when I started that, I was working a job which, was paying fairly well at the time. And something inside me was like, you know what, man, you can't work for somebody. You like your flexibility. So at that point, I made a decision to, like I said, get my license reinstated and join Keller Williams. And I did fairly well. Like I said, or you said earlier, my first year, I think I did like 19 or 20 transactions. I just knew, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to hit the ground running. And
Yeah.
there was no failure. Like this was, going to happen more so because I wanted to, go back to the people that were like, oh, what are you doing? Why you got to quit a job that's paying you, great money, getting paid every 2 weeks? I wanted to go back and say, look, this is why I did it.
Well,
And
part of
of
it
course,
is, like we mentioned briefly in the whole point of the topic is, you take a leap of faith, right? And that was the first one, right? Is
absolutely.
quitting a job that's paying you to a job that doesn't pay you, until you start closing stuff, which is very difficult. That's actually when we met. I think I was in title insurance back then. We met at
Yeah.
an event or a mixer or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was at Thrive or one of those in Rancho
Yeah.
Cucamonga. And that's when I got to meet the infamous Keith Dabols. And we've remained friends ever since, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Which,
kind of
which
the
is,
story.
what's funny is that's one thing too that I don't think people realize in our business, right? It is relationships. I mean, over and over more than anything else, whether you do loans or you do real estate or your relationships between the real estate agent and the loan officer, between the customers. But we also are fortunate that sometimes those relationships actually become friendships, and go a lot further. And I mean, I'm blessed with that. That's but my closest friends are from this business, which is kind of, I don't know if that's crazy or good, but
Yeah. No, I know at the end of the day, I think it's like they say, it's, the circle you surround yourself with. And, you've always been someone I looked up to in terms of being innovative and obviously, have a pulse on the industry. And, believe me, as you get older, I've realized one thing, you have a choice to, who you want in your circle.
yeah,
And as you get older, my circle's gotten smaller and smaller. And of course, it's not because of materialistic, oh, well, he doesn't have this or they don't make this amount of money. It's just that you want to be around people that are, of value. And I think you're one of those. So again, man, I appreciate your friendship after over all these years.
yeah, my head's getting bigger on the camera here, but I'll tell you, that's like, been said over and over by, all sales coaches, right? I mean, if you hang around 5 people that smoke, you'll be the sixth. And you hang around 5 people that are, driving Beamers or Benzes, you'll be the sixth. So, I mean, that's
Absolutely.
true. And it is the difficult part oftentimes. And when we talk about a success strategy like we are today, sometimes it even means that our own like high school homies that like we love these friends of ours, but they just don't fit in. I mean, hey, we can have a beer at a barbecue once a year, but I just can't go out here every night. We can't just be doing that. And sometimes it's even, I mean, even family, right? And it gets tough when that happens. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, I want everybody here, but sometimes not everybody wants. They show that they don't want to be there. Unfortunately, that's the hard part about this journey.
Absolutely. No, and that's, it's true in anything. You outgrow people, which is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
believe, there's one thing I always tell myself. People come into your life for a season or a reason, and sometimes that season takes its toll and, not to say you don't like them or, you think they're a bad person, but
Yeah.
they just obviously, were in your life for a reason or a lesson to be learned for some reason. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, man.
So
So
you
quickly,
learned how to you learned the business through doing loans. Then you
yes,
got through REOs. And then that kind of spurred you to get back into doing the real estate. You're down in Corona Norco area.
right,
You're doing well, rookie of the
yes,
year. And
yes.
then I think we might have been at Lazy Dog once. I mean, that's maybe they owe us for the sponsor. Having a beer or something. I remember you said, man, I want to sell some, fancy houses down by the beach.
Right,
Tell me about how
right.
that worked a little bit. Like that vision. Where does that start from?
Yeah, so I think obviously working in Corona, there's some great price points, don't get me wrong, but my vision was bigger. And I started feeling like I was becoming a big fish in a small pond. And I don't like that feeling because I want to be able to learn from those. And I've never been one that like comfort zones because like they say, I know it sounds so cliche, comfort zones don't, let you grow. And it's true though.
Yeah.
So at that point, I decided, you know what? I'm going to take that leap of faith, as we shared earlier,
Yeah.
and I'm going to move to Orange County. And that's what I did. I moved to Orange County. My broker, some people in the office, of course, or what are
Still
you
supportive?
doing? No, not at all. Oh my God, man. Yeah, no, my broker at the time tried to, everything he could to keep me there. And I was like, well, look, that's great and all, but I just feel in my heart this is where I need to go. And believe me, man, it was scary because, although, Orange County is a beautiful area, I didn't know that much about Orange County, other than just, the beaches, of course, and maybe a
You know
few
where
other
Maslo's
restaurants.
was?
I know where Masters is. I know where the South Tesco's Plaza. So, I ended up making that leap and moving out to Orange County, and I joined the office, still Keller Williams at the time, in Newport. And man, if you talk about something that would make that spirit just come in you, oh, the first day I walked through the doors, I was just like, okay, did I make the right decision? Should I really be here? Do I deserve to be here? And so what I did was I actually linked up with one of the top agents in the office, just to pick his brain for a little bit. And what I did for the first 3 to 4 months is I didn't really do any real estate in Orange County. I was still doing real estate in, Riverside County.
Yeah.
But what I did was I researched and I drove streets and I learned everything there was to know in the area that I wanted to market. And that, I'm telling you, was something that I can encourage an agent, new agent, older agent wanting to, choose a different demographic. You have to know the area like the back of your hand. It's one thing to know the houses that have sold, the comps, that's great, but you
Yeah.
need to know like everything there is to know about that city. And that's
The
what I did.
streets, the schools, the restaurants,
Everything.
the churches, the whatever is of interest, right? I mean,
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that not only solidified, me as the local agent, but it also showed that, hey, this guy knows, the area. Because I don't want somebody catching me off guard one day and saying, oh yeah, hey, by the way. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I did
yeah.
that for 3, 4 months. And, even, it might even have been longer than that. But either way, I did that because I wanted to make sure when I was in front of someone, I knew what I was talking about. And I think that's why a lot of agents, maybe even loan officers for that matter, that's why I feel that there's a lot of intimidation
Ah,
because it's just not knowing or having that wisdom and knowledge. You know what I mean? But once you get that put away, it's like this. It's just a back and forth banter because you obviously know what they're talking about. So, but
well,
yeah,
I'll tell you.
that's
So, one of the things I remember that you mentioned earlier, and I've witnessed it in real life, was your phone skills. You mentioned you started the mortgage business calling people, and
yeah,
then I remember being in your office, down in Corona there by Ghost Logos, right? And
yeah.
being on the phone, just listening to talk to people, and you were so strong with people on the phone where other people were scared to be on the phone. Like, I don't like to be on the phone. I like to be in real life. Everyone's a little different. What do you think? I mean, if there was a strategy you could share on that, as far as maybe the phone call aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things when I was coaching at Keller Williams and even with my own team now, I tell people, it's a psychological thing. Growing up, we're told by our parents, don't talk to strangers. It's bad. Don't do it. You're gonna,
Yeah.
So over the years, hearing that so many times as a child, it gets distilled in you. And that's the thing a lot of people feel, hey, I don't want to talk to a stranger. Because essentially that's what you're doing. You're
Yeah,
calling
I never
someone you
thought
don't
of it
know.
like that. You're right. Don't talk to
Yes.
strangers.
Right. So we, in our subconsciously, it's a bad thing. As we get older, nobody likes rejection, but we all face rejection, whether it's a job, a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
nobody likes rejection, and you get that. That's part of the process. So for me, what I learned to do, and I did the Mike Ferries, the Tom Ferries, and Brian Buffini, and all those guys in between, and I started realizing there's still a pathway you need to take. It's just a matter of how you're going to go from here to here without sounding like the other guy. And
No.
I had a hard lesson one time. I called this one gentleman and he's like, okay, I'm going to stop you, man. You guys get a book? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, because the last 3 guys that called are saying exactly the same thing. So I felt kind of stupid. And I said, never again. So what I started realizing is if you can obviously still get that message across, but just in a different manner where it's coming from a place of contribution, it's going to, and I'm telling you, Keith, my success rate on my calls that I make daily, I'm going to say 80%. that I get
Yeah.
either the appointment or I get the listing. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what I was mentioning to you earlier, the one I just took in Los Alamitos. Same thing, I called them up. They were totally hesitant. And at the end of the day, they ended up listing with me a week later.
Yeah.
So it
Well, I
works,
think
brother.
part of it too is I remember you were calling a lot on I think it was expireds or FSBOs at the time, and
Both.
yeah, and I think part of it, like what you mentioned, is you mentioned that you invest in yourself. You have been to a lot of these top seminars, and I encourage everybody, you read a book. I got stacks of books here, and you got to keep working on you no matter what. But then you've got to make it you, right? So it's great to go to this information with Anthony Robbins, all these there's awesome people out there that we learn from, but
Yeah.
we need to put it in and then use it. I mean, having a script, right, doesn't mean I read my script, right? I have a strategy. We have show notes, right, of kind of a loose idea of things we want to talk about today, but we're not going to sit here, and try to read it off. So I think that I'm glad you shared that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and again, like I tell my team, like, look, you guys need to be human and don't come off as a robot. Don't come off as a salesperson, because that's going to turn off anybody. Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
go to a mall, you go to a store, car lot. It's the last thing you want is a guy hovering you, and you're like, hey, back off. I'll call you when I'm ready. Or, but if they come back and say, hey, just wanted to check in with you. How's things going? What are you exactly looking for? At that point, it doesn't seem as, abrasive. It's more like, okay, this guy's trying to just help me out a little bit here.
Yeah.
So the same thing applies here, man. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants to be told, especially for sale owners. They think they can do it on their own, which in most cases, maybe they could. But I tell them, listen, kudos to you for, taking that leap and being able to put your house on the market on your own. If there comes a point in time that you maybe decide this isn't what you thought it was going to be, hey, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
So there's ways of going about it, so it's been, again, just trial and error, man. It was a lot of trial and error. Believe it as.
Well, you took a leap of faith to start in the business, took the leap of faith to get back in the business, leap of faith to, you've been leaping around. Tell me a little bit about where that faith comes from.
Yeah. So as you know, my dad's a pastor. He's been a pastor now for probably 40 plus years.
Uh-huh.
Believe me, I've been blessed by it. Growing up, I didn't see those blessings because, of course, when you have a father that, serves God, the likelihood of him, being BS'd is pretty slim. So there's a lot of butting of heads, throughout the years. But as I got older, especially with business, like one thing I implement in my business is, in the model of my business, I should say, is always putting God first. And that's why I think when I first started in this industry, I was very stressed out, and I'm sure like a lot of us are. But at the same time, I said, God, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. And your hand's in this, and however it plays out, it plays out, So that helped me a lot with my faith because, like they say, you have to have blind faith sometimes. You may not see it in front of you at the moment, but guess what? The end result's going to be what the end result is. And that's where you have to have, say, hey, God, my faith in you is to where even if it doesn't come out in the manner I thought it was, that was still your will,
Yeah.
So yeah, my
But
dad.
you're also going to show up, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think some people are taking hope isn't a plan. You know what I mean? Like I just someone else say that. I hope the market gets better. I hope I get that listing. Okay, it's not a plan, right?
Yeah.
What is the plan? So even you mentioned you went from the Corona area, Orange County area.
Yeah.
You were still doing transactions, right? You're in County. You didn't just throw it away. How did you devise that plan? Or how would you, is there like anything you could share with someone who's starting today? Like, here's how you enter a new market. Here's the steps you would take.
Absolutely. So to this day, I still do business in Riverside County. Because I prospect, expert, and those, it takes my business pretty much in every county. But one of the things I had to do, which I never did in Corona, was I got a farm. So I targeted a certain area in Orange County. I got with my title rep, asked him, hey, I need to know the turnover rate. I need to know who's, dominant agent in that area. How many deals have we done? So I wanted to educate myself because I didn't want to be in an area where there's 25 agents and 10 of them are dominated. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to be in an area where it wasn't as saturated. And I just started just doing the old school door knocking, man. Making sure my brand was out there, making sure my face was out there. And my marketing's a little different from most because, again, like I tell my own team, anybody can put out a postcard, a flyer, just sold, just listed, great. But what are you going outside the box and what are you doing to be a little more innovative? So for me, with my marketing, what I do, I hit 1,500 homes a month. I always, every month, team up with a local vendor. So last month it was Nectar Juice Floor. They're on the backside with some type of discount for that month, provided that they mention my name or they can bring in a postcard of some sort. But the beauty behind that is it gives it shelf life.
Yeah.
They're not just getting it and toss it. Some may, because I'm like, oh, I don't like Nectar Juice Bar, so I'm just going to throw it away. But the likelihood of people keeping it is a lot higher. So I always team up with a local vendor, whether it's the pizza place, Nectar Juice Bar. I think next month we're doing what's the name of that place? Geez, I can't slide my mind right now. But anyhow, that
You'll see it on your postcards.
Yeah, we'll see it on my postcards. But that gives value. And I think over time, the marketing and the branding, which honestly I brand everything. If you guys follow me on social media, you'll see I put my logo on everything. Why? Because it's just name recognition. That's why you have all these big names, Nike, Budweiser, whomever. They market, they put the brand. Everyone knows Nike, but they still market themselves because
well, move aside to say, I want everyone to see this. The Alan Fornis, I like it. The AF, that's a term that people use on a lot of things, right? But that's kind of cool. It's just like this was like half a joke when we started, right? We're like, wait, you're talking about meats? What is that? Sounds weird, Well, yeah, but I do like steaks, and people would look at my social media and say, "Dude, when are you having me over for a barbecue?" Right? I said, "When are you gonna give me some deals? Maybe we'll trade." And then it was like, well, okay, it's not just meat, right? It's marketing, education, activities, tips. Just like AF, you're real AF, right? Like I like Andy Priscilla, same thing. I think that's great, and it's very memorable and easy. Like I see that, I know it's your post.
Yeah, I have shirts that my team wear that in the back it says real estate is hot, and then it says AF. So people, and it's cool because people walk up to me, and I have walked up to a few of them and said, "Oh my God, hey, I like your shirt. Hey, what do you do? You're a real estate agent," and it just creates that conversation. And so branding, I think, is huge. At the end of the day, I have moved to a different brokerage. But, for me, I tell my team, it's not the brokerage, it's you, and obviously the brand, it does, it speaks volumes, especially when you're recognizable, because now people, when they do see that, they know, like, they're like, oh yeah, I've seen your logo. Oh yeah, hey, I've seen your jokes or whatever you post. So branding and marketing is huge, man. I can't stress that enough too, especially newer agents that are trying to get into the business, or trying to crack into a different, market. Believe me, it was hard, man. Newport Beach, Orange County in itself is a very hard nut to crack.
There's a lot of shows about it. They make it look easy.
yeah. And I know a few of those cats, but at the end of the day, even they say like it's like I know they use an expression. You got to crawl before you walk. And there was a big name agent in my office at the time, and I asked him one day. I said, "Hey, how are you getting these $3 million, $5 million, $7 million listings?" And he's like, "Alan, I was selling $350,000 homes in Chino." So it's baby steps.
I was doing Norco. We're there.
I'm all like, no. Yeah, I was doing Dompton Valley. Selling a 2-acre lot. Yeah. So, yeah, dude. I think even with that journey, man, it makes you appreciate it more. You know what I mean? I think if right out the gate I was already selling $3-4 million, $5 million homes, I wouldn't appreciate it as much as I do now. So now when I get these bigger, price tag listings, it makes me think back to those days of, hey, I sold a $300,000, piece of land or a, $600,000, condo, whatever, you know what I mean? So it does make it a little bit sweeter. It really does. It makes me appreciate it.
The other part is that when you've learned through the trenches, through selling any market, right? The experience that comes from that transcends. It's like, practicing a sport or something, right? If you get the fundamentals and the basics, then you can apply them somewhere else. I don't know this because I wasn't that big real estate agent, but it's possible that if you just start out selling some of these real high expensive homes, then the market retracts. You may not have a strategy or experience to draw on. I mean, you're the first guy I know that's told me about door knocking multi-million-dollar neighborhoods. I didn't know that you could, but
Yeah, no, it's scary. I mean, at first it was scary. I should say it's scary now. It was scary at first. only because you're in an area where you feel like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be in this area, or you start doubting yourself. It's like, wow, I've only sold X amount of properties at this certain dollar amount. Why would they hire me? But if you
Yeah.
show them value, you show them, the enthusiasm, you show them the energy that they're going to bring. What my very first deal that was one like over $1 million. The lady, I asked her, she was, I interviewed 4 other agents. She goes, the reason why I went with you is because of your tenacity, the fact that you were, aggressive, but not aggressive in a good way. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't
Yeah.
saying like, I was pushy. It's just, I love
If
that
you're
to
too
me.
pushy, she wouldn't have given you the listing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that, I was able to show her, look, despite me not having anything at this price point sold yet, this is what I'm willing to do and go above and beyond for you. And so that got me the deal. So it was a catalyst that, pushed me. And now, for me, my average price point right now is anywhere between 1.5, 1.7. As I shared earlier, I'm working on a hotel right now for 5.5. So, you know, getting those wheels turning took a while, but now they're finally turning, and I'm getting, clients that are in that caliber. But again, it takes it takes work, man. And I know, going back to, not to be all preachy, but it says in the Bible, faith without works is dead. So you can have all the faith in the world, but if they don't put, the work that's needed behind it, you're just, like you said earlier, you're just kind of hoping, and
Yeah.
hope doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah. Yes. People are addicted to hopium, to put it other ways. They're running around the house on hopium, How am I going to do? Yeah. Well, first of all, it does take different people to handle different things. We realized I wasn't that good at taking listings years ago when I was like, well, what did you think the house was worth? I'm like, this house, if you remember. I'm
This
like,
house.
this house with the wiggled up carpet and the kitchen's ripped out. This is $1 million. Me to say I didn't get the listing. So I
Oh
guess
my gosh.
part of it too is also, and I know you're really good at this, is that ability to be a little bit of a chameleon, right? To learn from them, mirror them, and be in the light, or
Yeah, no, that's another great. I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, you do. You have to know your audience. You know what I mean? And obviously, if somebody that you're meeting for the first time, if you could tell that they're a little apprehensive, then you kind of ease it back a little, or you saw someone that's very energetic and very, then you kind of, like you said, you mirror it, you mimic it. So
yeah,
it definitely, they say, real estate isn't a rocket science, but there is a science. There really is.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think over time, you start realizing that, beginning, if I look back when I first started the business to where I am today, oh yeah, I'm like, oh dude, 100 times better than what I was on, because you don't know, like you say, you don't know what you don't know until you
yeah.
know. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely a great journey that I've been on, but it's been fun, dude. I know at the end of it, people that I've met throughout the years have come and gone, well, for whatever reasons. But at the end of the day, I think the people that are true hustlers, people that understand how to pivot in whatever market you're in, those are the ones that remain. Those are the ones that stay around. And I know you said earlier about, sometimes you have to trim the fat, meaning friendly family. And I have to do that, man. And you know that without giving, too much information, but I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
to, one for business reasons, but also for just personal reasons, because
yeah.
it was stunning the growth, you know what I mean? And I think with maturity, you understand that, that not everybody that you called a friend at one time has to stay a friend. You could still, be cool and cordial, but, if they're not serving a purpose to help you grow and vice versa, then really what's the point,
But you mentioned earlier about how you were leaving a brokerage, very successful brokerage. The broker was a great guy. He wasn't trying to hinder you. He wanted to keep you, right? Because you were
Right.
good. Well, it wasn't real supportive, right? So when you've gone out there and said, I mean, I think Mike, so when I started this business, I was going door to door with my pops, rest in peace. Um, you know, we would knock on doors, door to door. And my wife wasn't super supportive when I was out all month, every day, and I didn't have a deal. I remember saying, well, you'll get a real job, right? And it was hurtful. It was hard. Thankfully, well, not thankfully, we didn't work out. A year or two later, I did apparently have a real job, had the, the nice home and all the things we wanted, because I believed in me to keep going.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult. And a large part of that to me was my father, supporting me, believing in me, Is there any one person? I mean, I know your father as well, but anyone else in your family that's just always been that kind of rock or supportive person, no matter what you want to try?
Yeah. Yeah. I have many. Obviously, my dad being the number one, I should say.
Yeah.
But having a great support system, man, you need it. In our industry, there's highs and lows. You can be at the top of your game one month, and then 2 months down the road, you're just not doing anything. So I've seen and I've been there. Luckily and fortunately enough, I've been able to close a couple of deals a month along with my team. But yeah, I mean, my dad obviously has been the rock. My mom, she's a superstar. When she's my biggest cheerleader. And I have just good friends around me. You know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer in you should never look at someone's success and be jealous of it, because
Yeah.
one day that's going to be you, and you want that same support and have people cheering you on. So I'm very big on making sure that I'm always uplifting people. Because again, our industry, man, it could be very cutthroat. Obviously, as you know, you do go through the highs and the lows. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, having a good support system, I would say, is probably one of the key elements to have, especially in our industry, because we go through those different emotions. Even sometimes recently, I've asked myself, like, dang, am I really supposed to be doing this? And am I really what I think I am, or is it just me self giving myself glory, and I have to keep, but it's good because it keeps you humble. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
time, which I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you, but for me at least, when you get to a certain, caliber, whether it's financially or status, you start thinking like, okay, I'm a little bit better than this next person, or I don't have time to talk now.
And then you get pulled right back down.
And yeah, and God will quickly humble you, man. And I've had it happen.
I have been humbled.
So at the end of the day,
the good part is you get back up.
Exactly. So again, like I said earlier, it's always for lessons and reasons. And so for me,
Yeah.
I try to live my life and try to run my business with always put God first, and everything else will work itself out. You know what I mean? As long as I stay focused. And believe me, I've had my I've had my days of partying and coming home, 3 in the morning, and not realizing, dang, how did I get home? But it's again, to each his own. I'm not judging anyone that obviously does the whole 3 a.m. and partying still, but it took me.
Hey, everything in moderation, right? We do it now just around we do it for Christmas now.
Yeah, everything for moderation and balance. Like I didn't have a lot of balance at first, in my life. It was just work. And, I've had this conversation the other day with somebody, and I said, balance is so important. Even in nature, there has to be a balance, And so for me, it was like, okay, get my business in order, get my house in order, get my health in order, because any of those that throw out of whack, it offsets the others, So I feel right now I have a good balance. Because there's a lot of time I missed, dude. Like 2 years, my first 2 years of the business, I literally 24/7. If I wasn't at the office, I was open houses, I was doing this, whatever I could do to generate business. And family would like, dude, like you missed the birthday, or hey, you got here 3 hours late, And now looking back, they say hindsight's 20/20. I look back and think, wow, there's a lot of time I wish I could regain, especially with people that are no longer here. It makes me feel like, dang, was it really worth doing that open house when I could have been with them, you know what I mean? So it really has you self-reflect, you know what I mean? So now today, I make sure like, hey, at a certain time, I don't answer my phone, unless it's an extreme emergency. Sundays, I have a team now, so open houses primarily I let them do, but I don't work on Sundays. I give up, I put God, I go to church, and I make that Sunday just about myself and family and friends. And believe me, it made my blood pressure. That's a different story, but my blood pressure is now where it should be. Because 2.5, 3 years ago, man, it was 180 over 115 or something like that. Something crazy.
I don't think that's good.
No,
that's like a high score. I don't think you want a high score when it comes to that, right? It's kind of like golf. You want the lower numbers, right?
You want the lower number, exactly.
You also touch on that, about the balance, because I've been there too. We started a new company, 3 years ago, middle of COVID, great time. This seemed a great strategy, and then it was stressful. Obviously, I would say I ate like shit, but quite honestly, I ate good, which made me a lot bigger version of me, and was drinking more, stress, all that. And then I realized I was out of balance. right? And I started training and doing, the other events I've done and stuff. And how does health and fitness play into your balance now?
Yeah, so I'm at the gym religiously 4 to 5 times a week.
Yeah.
Again, the scare that I had was about, like I said, 3 years ago. I went to the dentist and they took my blood pressure and it was at, like I said, 180 over 115.
At the
I didn't know
dentist.
yeah, because they're gonna do they're gonna do an extraction, so they want to get blood pressure. So anyhow, um, when they told me that, I was like, okay, well, what's it supposed to be? And they're like, well, 120 over 80, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not good. So they put me some medication, and of course, what we do for a living is stressful in itself. But then, of course, I was looking at going out, but drinking every night, and not that I was drinking heavily, but still, you do 1 or 2, 3 drinks a night. I mean, it adds up. The diet, not working out, and we all make the excuse, well, I don't have time, I can't find time. Believe me,
Yeah.
you can find time. You know what I mean? So when I started switching up all that, going to the gym, eating healthier, not drinking as much, blood pressure went down, and it's been maintained, for the last, like I said, 3 years. About 3 years now. But yeah, like they say, health is wealth, man. You can make all this money in the world, you can have all the expensive cars and houses, but if your health isn't there, what's the purpose? And I know a lot of multimillionaires and billionaires actually, that have everything in the world, man, but their health is declining. And guess what? No amount of money in the world is gonna take that from them. So
Well, I used to dabble in exotic car sales too, right?
yes, sir.
And I can't
Yes, sir.
tell you how many people would come in. And a lot of these guys, man, I want to get a Ferrari, I want to get a Lambo. I've always wanted one. And they're at a point in their life where they're struggling to get into the car. Now they can financially afford it, maybe, right? But they're not really enjoying the car. They're
Yeah.
like, trying to get into it. And I guess the moral of that is buy your Ferrari when you're young, guys. But wasn't really where I was going with it. But the point was that I can't tell you, multiple people I knew that had a lot of money, and they would tell me, "Oh, I would give all my money to be your age again." I
Yeah.
heard it repeatedly, and I'm talking people that had like one guy had like a stadium, so I'm assuming he was doing pretty well,
And
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, hey, I would get rid of whatever this is. I just talked to my daughter this morning, right? Every minute I could have with my daughter is precious, right? I mean, she's 23, she's at university, super proud of her. She'll watch this, love you. But the thing is, man, what could I have? It'd be great to have, go back in time and do some of these things different. So, that balance of the family, the balance of the health, and also, as crazy as it seems, when I go to the gym in the morning and I come in, I feel more focused on my business than if
Absolutely.
I didn't,
Right. No, that's huge. Like my day consists of, like, if I wake up between 5:30 in the gym, come home, I read the Bible. I kind of write down some notes and thoughts, whatever I have, and then I get my day started. Doing that, it really helps. Like you said earlier, it does help you focus. It releases these endorphins, I guess, that make you just want to take on the day with full force. And I think a lot of my back in the day was I just was kind of like winging stuff. Let me wing it. Like I'll wake
Yeah.
up and I'll go to the office and I'm gonna wing it. And you can't wing it. Especially if you want to be successful. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Every dog has his day, and you may get a
I
bone
get
thrown
lucky
down
once, right? But that's not a
Yeah,
plan.
that's not a plan, exactly. So you need to
My
have what you
lottery
have to
tickets might
have.
win, I guess. Not a very good
Yeah,
plan.
damn it, I didn't win. I didn't win the Powerball, Keith.
I was
But
hoping we
no,
weren't gonna. I was hoping you were gonna tell me that you won and you were splitting it with me, and we weren't gonna do any more podcasts or anything. We're just gonna go hang out on the
we're
boat.
yeah, but yeah, you need to have a plan, man. So overall, I mean, like I said, it's throughout the years, it's all been God with His hand in what I do. Sometimes I didn't make the best decisions. You know what I mean? And so I learned from that lesson and move forward. As He shared, you can fall down as many times as you want. It's just making sure you get back up. And now I feel I'm in a position in life where I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing now. And being able to share that. That's another thing I wanted to touch on. Like, I love the fact that now I'm being able to be a mentor.
Yeah.
Because God has blessed me in a way where now I can be that to somebody else and help them cut that learning curve in half. And I think at this juncture in my life where like you mentioned earlier too, time isn't guaranteed to anybody, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that every day that I'm on this earth that I'm at least providing something of value and that I'm leaving, some type of contribution. So that's kind of how that's how I've been living my life for the last, I would say
Well, it's the
3.5,
reason that I
4 years.
wanted you to be on and share, because I want people to see maybe they were in the situation, or maybe they're in the situation now, thinking of making a change. Families tell them don't do it. Current employers tell them don't do it. And I'm not telling people to be reckless and throw it to the wind either. Have a plan, have a strategy, and do believe in you if you do it. Now, what would you say if I was a new agent today? All right, hey, brother, I was going to ask you, if I was new to the business today
Yes.
and I came to you, what plan would you put me on as far as a schedule? What would my week look like if I worked with you?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that because I just brought someone on a couple weeks ago and I told her the same thing. Basically, your calendar has to be where you're basically putting down everything. The time you
Uh,
wake up, the time you eat breakfast, go to the gym, whatever you're going to do. So typically speaking, I told her, you should probably be on the phone or some type of prospecting, whether it's door knocking, calling, physicals or expireds by 9 o'clock up until about 11:30. Um, that time frame seems to work. A lot of stay-home moms, stay-home dads, people that work at night. Typically, you're going to catch them within those time frames, and it's not too early to where you're disturbing them. And
mhm.
then, of course, at home, dropping off the kids from school, now sitting down, drinking their coffee, watching a view or whatever. So you're
They're
able to
watching
get a
us.
better,
Maybe they're watching the Mortgage Beat
or maybe they're
podcast.
watching us. Exactly. So
No,
yeah,
so
so
you're saying this is a Monday through Friday task at this point?
absolutely. And
Okay.
then, you could take an hour lunch or so from, 12 to 1 or 12:30 to 1:30, whichever. And then I always say at least give yourself a 2-hour window from say like 1:30 to 3:30 to schedule your appointments. So whoever you
Okay.
talk to the day before or throughout the week, you could, have that time slot so that you can say, hey, are you available between the hours of 1:30 or 3:30, whatever the case may be. And then from 3:30 to 6:30, I would highly, or maybe actually 3:30 to 5:30, jump back on prospecting. So again,
Got
whether
it.
that's returning calls, whether it's you just calling those expired and physicals again, you should have that window open for the prospecting. And then of course from 6 to maybe 7:30, keep that window open again for again appointments. Because
So
some people,
prospecting, appointments, prospect, appointments.
absolutely, yeah. Because like I say, calling, getting conversations leads to appointments. Appointments lead to listings, and listings lead to sales. So
And
definitely
sales
that would
lead
be,
to the part we like in the business.
yes, getting paid. So yeah, that's typically Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I tell them, look, if you're not hosting an open house, then you should be doing something that's going to be productive, that's going to generate leads. So whether it's going to the park, going to the gym, talking to people, our business is obviously going to be this one-on-one. So
Yeah.
if you can get in front of somebody, whether that's through a phone call or in person, you definitely want to keep those conversations going because that's typically the name of the game. So that's kind of the calendar I try to keep for myself.
Let me ask you. So when you have this calendar blocked out, what are you doing about? This is a loaded question because I know for when I call you said this, but are you doing anything else during these times? If I say I'm going to be calling from 9 to 11:30, am I also checking out Facebook, posting on Instagram, or what?
Yeah, no, typically speaking, my Facebook, my social media, that's already pre-planned on
Okay.
Sunday. So I already know what I'm going to be posting on Monday. I know what I'm going to be posting on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, so on and so forth. So I usually do that between the hours of 7 and 7:30. So
Got it.
that's part of my schedule. Even posting is part of my schedule. You may give me
Yeah.
once in a while going to have lunch or something. I might take a picture or something. But typically, those that do follow me, you'll notice I post normally early morning. And then, of
Mhm.
course, throughout the day, if that happens to be where, I'm taking a listing appointment or whatever the case is, I may post that. But typically, I try to keep all my posts pre-planned by Sunday. So I'm not
Got it.
thinking about what am I going to post on Tuesday? What am I going to post on Wednesday? It's already done. And I just, hit,
Let's
okay, go.
It's funny. It's like one of the things we do even with the podcast is we use Opus Clips, great app. If you guys aren't using it, I could take a video like this one here is going to be an hour long video. It's going to break it into 15, 30 to 60-second clips and reels. And those that follow more interesting will know you see those every day of the week. But similarly, I set it up in Calendly at once. So I think that Opus Clips is a huge tool. It's AI based, so I didn't even create some of the tags. What tools or apps are you using that you think could be helpful as well?
Yeah, so I use an app called Calendly. It helps me with my calendar, keeps me on track. It also allows me to like invite other, whether it's agents or clients, similar to the Gmail when you send out the invite, for calendar requests. But it's called Calendly. I use that for my calendar. I use Vulcan
That
7, which
blocks
is
it
my.
too, though, right? Like that'll
It
block
does
out
block
that
it.
time.
Absolutely. It gives that person the ability to either 15-minute call, a 30-minute session, whatever. You kind of control what you want it to give out as far as time wise and dates. And then of course once they click on it, then that time slot's already gone. So that's kind of cool. I use that for my calendar. I use Vulcan 7. That is my dialer platform where I get expired Bismos.
That's like for Star Trek?
Yes.
Vulcan 7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Vulcan 7. It's probably one of the more pricier platforms out there, but it's a little more accurate than like your Red X, Mojo, all the other ones in between. So I've been using that probably for the last, I would say, 7-8 years. But it is, again, more accurate in terms of the numbers and the information. Then you can do a bunch of other stuff like circle prospecting, a lot of the features I really don't utilize, but I typically just use it for the circle prospecting and, of course, the for sale owner and expireds.
So when you're using a dialer like that, so for those, because I have not used a dialer, are you giving it criteria or is it data you've already given it? Do they provide the numbers? How does that work with the dialer?
Yeah, so this is a one-stop shop. So it's fully integrated, meaning it has the dialer system, it has the leads. You tell it what you want. So you can just say, hey, I want all expireds, and it's going to give you like, I don't know, 1,000, if not more expired. But you can pinpoint. You could say, hey, I want to do, Newport Beach or Costa Mesa. I want to have only expires between the dates of this date to this date. So it's going to just give you and scrub everything else. So it's only giving you that information. So you can get as detailed as you want. And typically, me, because I do have a farm, I do like to have it, a little bit more narrowed down so that I'm not just calling random. But it does have that capability. So it's a great system. It's cool.
Go ahead. Where you say how much the price was on it, or
so I want to say if you do a 12-month contract, I want to say it's $325 a month. So it's not that cheap, you know what I mean? But again, it does pay for itself. You close one deal, it basically paid for itself 10 times over. But I've used the others, and by far this is probably the most superior in what it can do, and of course the information. And obviously the information is what we want in this, as far as getting the numbers and the people,
here's the thing. If I'm, going to take advice on someone's software or anything, I'd like to hear someone's actually using it, not their salesman, right? I mean, you have nothing gained in this. Anyone, if you try it out, it's like, okay, Alan's not getting paid by it. So I think that kind of speaks to the fact that probably works pretty well. Yeah,
and I know a lot of top producers that I know, they utilize Vulcan 7 too, because they understand the power of the information that's been that's given.
Well, so with that, Nat, I appreciate you sharing the story. I appreciate you sharing some tips. Appreciate you sharing the apps. But if somebody wanted to learn more about you and what you do, or maybe even join your team, how do we get a hold of Alan Fornis?
Well, you can call me. I'll put out my number. It's public anyhow. So that's 562-916-5483. You can follow me on Facebook. It's Alan Fornis. I don't know what my handle is per se, but I think just by my name, ALAN FORNISS. And then on Instagram, you can follow me at Alan Fornis Luxury Real Estate _ Luxury Real Estate.
Or you can also call me and I'll connect you since we're buddies.
Absolutely.
Again, appreciate you, bud. We got to get a steak soon. I know you couldn't make it in today. Next time you're up this way, we're going to Fleming's. If I'm down that way, we're going to Mastro's.
Absolutely.